What's going on, everybody? Chase on Two Wheels here to talk action cameras, specifically this little guy. This is the Insta360 One RS. So if you guys aren't familiar with the Insta360 One R, this little guy, this thing came out in early 2020, and it was Insta360's entry into the action camera market, and it had a really cool trick. It is entirely modular. You can separate the lens, you can separate the brain, and the battery unit. The Insta360 One RS is the second generation of that camera. Now guys, with the One RS, you're still going to have that really cool feature of modularity. We still have the battery unit here on the bottom. We have this brain unit that's also the screen. If you guys can see right here, you can see yourself. And then we have the lenses. The really cool thing, the first thing I was worried about when they sent this camera out was, can I use all my old stuff with the new RS? And yes, you absolutely can. Alright, so we got the One RS. We're going to take off the 4K mod that comes with it. And here we have their 1-inch sensor camera with the Leica lens and all that kind of stuff. Still clicks in. New battery goes on, and then boom, you have a 1-inch censored One RS. Pretty cool stuff. So guys, before we get to testing, let's go over all the new stuff in the One RS. Now, the first major thing that's been updated is this camera. This is the 4K boost camera. Somehow, Insta360 has put a 48 megapixel sensor inside of this little cube. No clue how they did that, but that's a thing. I'm extremely interested to see some photos out of a 48 megapixel half-inch sensor. Also, like, how did they do that? Next up, let's talk about the brain. This thing has an increased processor and core, which is going to help us in a few ways. It's going to speed up file transfers wirelessly, like over Wi-Fi, which is huge because these Insta360 cameras, Insta360 as a company, seems to really rely on their apps. Having a faster file transfer and Wi-Fi speeds is going to be massively helpful. The thing I'm most excited about with the new processor is, with that faster ability, it is now going to have the option of building in the stabilization into your footage. That has probably been my major hiccup with using the Insta360 One R, but we'll talk about that later in the video. Next up is audio. Now, I've said it before in my Insta360 videos, I've said it in my GoPro videos. These things typically have trash audio. I don't even care about it. When I'm using these cameras like on motorcycles or in my helmet, I always have an audio pack, or we're recording audio externally. But supposedly this thing's got 3 different microphones in situations that'll help it against wind and all types of stuff. So we're definitely going to have to test that out, but if I'm going to be really honest, I don't really care. Final thing is the battery. This battery might look the exact same as the other one, but it is 22% larger, and I am interested in that because battery life is super important, especially with the Insta360s. With a GoPro, you have those little batteries that you just pop in and out of the camera, but with the Insta360, it's got to fit here on the outside. The cool thing about the battery, you have to have this specific one, but it fits into this little action cage, which I kind of love already, but we'll have to do some more testing today to see how well that works. Specifically, the little door mechanism. Currently, it's working good. All right, that's all the new stuff. I say let's just go throw this thing on a motorcycle and go out, do some riding, do some testing. You guys can see some footage and we'll be able to judge it for ourselves. So, I'm gonna throw some gear on. We're gonna get on the bike. We'll head out. Alright guys, first test is going to be the flow state stabilization. Now, if you guys can't tell, this windscreen is, it is not the most stable of things, so I feel like it'll be a perfect test to see how well the stabilization can work. Like, look at that. So this thing will be looking directly back at me and should be wiggling around. So basically at this point, if we get any good footage from that, it's going to be a miracle. Alright everybody, that was the test for the flow state. Now I'm going to give you guys something that I have been being asked for years. So guys, for a while now, this is typically what my helmet looks like when I'm doing bike reviews. So on the first rides, got a GoPro on the front, and I just run it like that. And I typically film in 4K 24 with an ND filter. I think that looks great. But inevitably, in every one of my first ride videos, somebody says, why don't you shoot 4K 60? I figured, what better way to test the 4K 60 capabilities of the Insta360 One RS than to put it on the front of the freaking helmet and go for a quick little ride. So let's find out what this amazing 4K 60 footage looks like on the front of this helmet. Just a little side note before we head out for this test, the screen's response rate to what I'm doing with my fingers, I don't know if you just guys saw in that last shot, I just, swiped forward and sideways to change the settings as far as the frame rates and stuff. It is incredibly responsive, like shockingly responsive. Very awesome update. I guess that's part of that new sensor and all that kind of stuff. Okay, let's go see what 4K 60 looks like on a helmet. All right guys, I want to do a couple more tests with this camera, and we're in the very bright sun right now, so most any photo is going to look like shit, but I'm very curious what this 48 megapixel photo can look like. We're going to go over to photo mode and let's see what it's all about. There are so many things you can do. So there's HDR photo and regular photo, and there's also HDR video and regular video. So I'm gonna do a test. I'm gonna take the same photo, HDR and non-HDR, and then I'm gonna do like a little push in with the camera on the motorcycle with regular video and HDR video. We'll see if there's a difference between either of those. And then we get to throw the 360 pole on, which is gonna be really cool. All right, let's try it out. So just try to do 48 megapixel photo. On the regular photo setting, you can go to 48 megapixels somehow. But in the HDR setting, you cannot, in the HDR photo setting, you can only go to a max of 12 megapixels. So now we know. Let's check out the video. All right, this is regular video setting, 4K 30. All right, this is 4K 30 HDR video. All right, something I'm noticing while using this is when you hit the shutter button, it does take a moment for the camera to start. I don't think it's that much longer than a GoPro is, but there is a little bit of time in between. So now I'm gonna go grab the cool little selfie stick. I'm gonna show you guys this invisible selfie stick that this thing can do. That's pretty much the final thing we need to test for this initial testing period. Alrighty everybody, final thing I want to test out. We got the 360, you guys see a little 360 camera mod on there. I want to test out how the stitching is with their invisible selfie stick. Okay, so now with this invisible selfie stick, you guys see how this is perfectly straight. It is now perfectly straight up on top of this stick. Now, I, with a 360 camera, can just hold it out. I'm gonna use the audio to you guys, but I can hold it out here and it's still recording me. Now, if you guys notice, you can do some pretty cool shots like this. I wonder if we can go straight through the bike. Let's try. Look at that. We can go all the way through. Don't hit anything. Hey. 360 cameras are so freaking cool, especially for motorcycles, because there's a lot of stuff going on with motorcycles. If you have a 360 camera, you can just point it around and capture everything. Now, the thing we gotta look for in 360 cameras are the stitch lines that are here. Stitch lines typically happen here on the edge of the camera. That's where Both of these super wide angle lenses are having to stitch the video together, but it allows for some pretty cool shots. Earlier, we sent Luke out to go to a bridge to get a cool shot. It looked like this. We are on a much brighter day today, but you can have it out from the behind the motorcycle. You can get this like fake drone shot. There's all types of stuff you can do. Also, you'll notice I can put this down to the ground. I can move it up. I wonder if we could do something like this, like be on the helmet and just be like, okay, I'm just messing around now. So here's the cool thing. Oh wait, so hypothetically I can talk to this camera like this. Okay, so here's the cool thing. We've tested all this stuff. We've tested the flow state stabilization. The one thing, and the huge thing with Insta360 cameras that we have not tested is the app and what all this footage looks like. Obviously, you guys have been looking at the footage, but I have not. So let's go back to the shop and let's find out what all this footage looks like and wrap this video up and see how this works. Check it out. There's the camera that we're filming on. Pretty neat. Okay, this camera's gonna die momentarily, so we're gonna go to the shop.
Oh, I didn't see you there. All right, so for a lot of you guys, this isn't going to matter. The killer of productivity in the shop is time. So the more time that it takes to take a product from capture to release is very important. The thing that has always been true about Insta360 is their focus on mobile and their desktop app for processing. It just takes extra time to get it from the camera to an editor. The processing is long, and in order to get to a usable, editable state requires the Insta Studio, which just adds rendering. Now, the new one, see this is the original one, the R. Flow state data baked in, but in order to get flow state onto the footage they're using inside your editor, you had to process it through their app first. And it was chunky, and it took a long time. Adding flow state baked in reduces the workflow time drastically. We were processing videos in a matter of 15, 20 minutes for very large files, which is good. It's still not like I would like it. I prefer being able to take an SD card out of a camera and throwing it into an editor and that'd be done. I need the easiest way to get what we capture to you guys as I possibly can. Now being able to bake in the stabilization solves one of the biggest problems that we have had with the 360 products, which is I want to be able to just take that footage, put it in an editor, edit to a video, and then send it out. They already had a great product. I love the 360 cameras. I love the 360 mod on the one. I love the 4K. The flow state is a really solid stabilization, and now that's baked in, it's even better. The 1-inch mod, all that stuff is fantastic. I love the way that this camera looks, and I hope to be using it more. But at any rate, that is it for the review of the Insta360 One RS. Pretty much, you put a bow on it. You can't go wrong with an Insta360 product. They're really awesome. They work really well with their own apps, and they just take, if you're not pumping out a bajillion videos a month, you can incorporate it into your workflow, and they work just fine. They're great cameras. We'll have links for everything in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content here on the Chaseontwowheels channel. We make a ton of it, and I edit a ton of it. So if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. Outro crew, have you used any of the Insta360 products, and do you edit them in a way that we edit them, or is it like not a non-issue for you guys? The extra time means nothing to you. Let me know in the comments. Put OC in the comments so that we know that it's you, because we love you a lot longer. Goodbye.